Let's take a sip of our Health Aid Kombucha. Everybody, thank you.
Yeah.
Health Aid Kombucha.
Pink Lady Apple.
Only in LA will you get this.
Just to start here, you know who is the one different that didn't get the Pink Lady Apple? What do you have?
Yeah, what is
I had
that?
the passion fruit tangerine.
Oh, it's very southern of you. Welcome to the first Intense podcast. My name is Andrew Satinoff, marketing.
My name is Yannick Yoshizawa, experience.
I'm Michaela Gordon. I'm an Intense ambassador.
And our first player.
Yes, first player as well.
Yes, and everybody here knows the hair in the classes.
Yeah, Redfoo, baby. BOD, board of directors.
Yeah, intensely.
Intensely, baby. Time Ball, co-founder, along with Ransom, and just bringing the intensity, the intense.
I think you were born intense.
You were.
I was.
The hair, definitely.
I was.
Definitely.
But I want to start, first of all, to interview you a little bit. I want to hear your background of how you got so involved and so intense with tennis, because you've been around the sport for many, many years. We all know this. We've seen you on TV.
Yeah.
We've seen you as an ambassador for the sport. Give us the background. How did this all come about?
It started at about 1 or 2 years old. My mom, there's pictures of my mom with a ball hopper with all the balls, and I'm sitting in there and she's pushing me around. Actually, she's going to say that her water broke on the tennis court and they had to take her to the hospital.
So she was a tennis player.
Yeah. With my, not professional or anything, but she was playing and that she was on the court. And so my father had a tennis court, but I didn't grow up with my father. I grew up in the Palisades, and they had tennis courts at the Palisades Park and stuff. And then I'd go to my dad's house, and he'd always have like weekly tournaments with his friends. And I think one day it was like, come on out here, play one of the older guys. And it's this guy, Jimmy Boyd. And I don't think I beat him, but it was like 4-all, and everybody was cheering. And I just was a natural sports guy playing basketball and soccer. And so I really liked it, but I didn't think much about it. And then I wanted to play pro ball, and it didn't work out. And I, because someone, my mom told me, she goes, you're too small for basketball. And then I grew up to be 6'2", and Steph Curry I think is 6'1", but at this point I was like Yannick's size, and I was just shorter, I was
6'2" is actually the perfect height for tennis players, right?
I think it's the perfect height for tennis players.
Yeah. It's either 6'2" or 6'10".
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or it's like, actually, maybe it's like 6'5", 6'6" is good lately.
No, for tennis?
Yeah, the movement of like Medvedev or like
have you seen
Zverev?
Zverev, how tall is Zverev?
He's like 6'6".
Well, how tall is Roger?
Yeah,
Novak,
6'1",
Rafa,
6'2",
Agassi,
Sampras.
Yeah,
Sampras is taller. I think Agassi was 5'10".
Yeah,
so you got the average.
But still, ground strokes.
So yeah, I got into tennis, and I started training at an academy, but I came in late as well as Andrea, one of the players. She was Ben Shelton. I was later, and then I grew up with Jason Cook, Lester Cook, and the Bryan brothers, and they were 2 years younger than me, and I was in the 16s, and they were 14 years old, but they were number 1 and 2 in the 16s, and I was like 30. I was pretty good. I was pretty good. I played Ojai. I played some stuff. Didn't play like a Kalamazoo or nothing like that. But I was playing, and I was.
So you play the brothers?
I didn't play them as a junior. No.
You would have beaten.
No. They were intimidating because they were like younger and better than I think in the 16s they were number 1 and 2 in the 18s. One lefty, one righty. We didn't think they were going to be doubles players. I thought they were going to be single. I thought they were incredible. And then I went to Sweden and I broke my wrist, and I was out there playing, and I went into music when I broke the wrist, and then I pivoted, as the youngsters say now, as the tech, the pivot, career pivot.
That's right.
To music, and
But how? Why?
I always loved it, and I had some downtime, so I started, I got a sampler, I got a 4-track, I started making records in Sweden, in Sweden, and they loved me because I could, they thought I could rap so good. And I grew up with will.i.am, Ahmad, and they were like better rappers than me, and I would get made fun of. I was like the funny rapper. I go to Sweden, and since I can just speak English fast, they're like, yeah, more, and I was just wasn't that good, but to them I was great, and it boosted my ego, so I kept on writing more, and then I became good, and I came back to America when I was 12th grade. So I spent 11th grade in Sweden, came back 12th grade, and I was rapping and producing, and I had stopped playing tennis. And Jason Cook, he played at UCLA, I think number 1. My peers, Lester, they went pro, and I did music. And then in music, on the bus, that's when I started watching. And you know what? I saw Federer, and he had already won like 15 Grand Slams. I didn't even know who he was.
No way.
That's how much I was into the music.
You were really into the music.
Sampras was my favorite player, and I had to learn who Federer was.
Wow.
And then he became my favorite player after seeing him. Just with that.
Just smooth.
Yeah, just so smooth. So smooth.
Yeah.
And then I started playing again. Playing with the DJ, playing this. And then I just got more and more into it, started playing tournaments. Because that was a big love of mine that I left when I broke my hand, went into music. And so, I've been playing ever since, probably about 10 years now.
Yeah, now you're addicted again.
I'm addicted.
Yeah.
I went to the golf, come back, but I always swinging a racket, working on a forehand. Solinko, that's my crew, baby.
Blackout, the whiteout.
The blackout, the whiteout. I play with both of them, depending on who I'm playing. If I play you, I'm going to play with the whiteout tomorrow.
I'm not going to even touch on the results right now.
It's rehearsal.
It's just practice.
Just for fun.
Yeah, he got me today.
We think Foo was sandbagging today.
Yeah. No, I was a little, you know what? I got to be more intense on my feet. I got to play more intense.
That's what happens when you get up in the age. You stop moving the feet, you get all lazy with the feet.
Yeah.
I think it's or when you're nervous. Maybe.
Think so? You are very intimidating. You are very intimidating.
Very intimidating.
You are.
You got
talking a lot of mess.
You're
Yeah,
young.
the kick serve.
Kick serve was good.
Yeah.
That one was, I don't think
That wasn't on me though.
the forehand and the serve.
Woo, yeah, you hit
recorded.
some of the best forehand you ever hit in your life.
Yeah.
So to step away from tennis for a brief second, when did LMFAO come into the picture? How did that all come about? Party rock, the whole explosion of that.
Yeah. So I landed in Hollywood doing stand-up comedy and then doing improv comedy. And I always, ever since 19 years old, so now I'm like 30, or, I did some hip hop stuff before that. And then I'm in Hollywood around 20, I'd say like 27 maybe. And like for 3 years, started playing a lot of chess at the Coffee Bean and decided I'm going to make a Redfoo album. Like, and so I was producing and doing all this stuff. And then my nephew was hanging out. We were hanging out together and we were like rapping together. And he was doing his stuff and I was doing my stuff. And then electro started coming in on the underground circuit with the DJs. And I got hired by the late, great DJ AM to ghost produce some electro for him. And he was going to be the DJ, and he didn't want to make the beats, but it was going to be his name on it, maybe for commercials or something. And I had to study like, well, what is this electro, and I was like, oh, it's kind of like disco, but like more electronic, and house. And so I switched from hip hop sounds to the, just the electro stuff. And I had to like learn it. And I learned it real fast. And I kept my style of like a little hip hop in there. And then, Sky and I, my nephew, we just started making, songs together. And I had made I'm in Miami, and so he had made a couple hip hop songs, and we had this mixtape, and he was still kind of into the hip hop, and I was like, I think I see this whole electro thing, because I didn't like the restrictions on hip hop. It's like, do you have to be from the streets? Do you this? Do you that? And I was like, I just love the art of rhyming and the melodies and the patterns and the rapping, and I came from like the native tongue, so I always wanted to like, talk a little more positive about stuff, Public Enemy type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, but this electro, I felt like you could do anything. I could rap, I could sing, I could experiment. There was no rules. There was no gate. Yes. Yes. There was no gatekeepers. It was like, as long as it had the four on the floor. I mean, there's always like in a genre, there's always like constraints, but it was still bigger than hip hop, right? Hip hop was slower. You had to use the 808s, or the boom bap stuff. And so I was like, let me try this. So I'm in Miami was the first. It was supposed to be a Redfoo song. And then we went to Miami, and we wrote about Miami. Well, I wrote the song, and then but we had never been to Miami. And it was like, well, yeah, we had never been. It was a song,
Miami, but you've never been to Miami.
No, it was a song about what we would feel when we were there.
When you got there.
So I'm in Miami, like this is what I'm gonna say when I'm there. And it was exactly like we imagined, because we had heard some records where people were talking about when I come to Miami, and it was like everybody, like Miami was the biggest thing because of the Miami Music Conference. So we went, and we had this mixtape, and he had some hip hop songs on there, and I put on I'm in Miami. And the feedback for I'm in Miami, because it was the first song, and we were just giving it to like groups of people, girls, this, that. And we had our number on there. It was like a business card. We'd give them the CD, and we were walking around promoting music conference, saying, hey, we're, and people were like, I'm in Miami. They drive by and like circle back, and they loved it.
How was that feeling though when you saw that happen?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Because it's like an experiment. And then it was our first time like giving out CDs and doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I felt like those people on the streets. Huh?
What year is that?
So
people are still using CDs.
Wow. But no, it's like 2000 and like probably 07, 08.
Okay.
09.
Okay.
Yeah, around there. And then so that was kind of the test, and everybody was singing, because we had a bunch of songs on the mixtape, some originals, some just, hot songs, but everybody was like, I'm in Miami. And it was the sound, it was new, and no one was really rapping over the electro, like the way we were doing it. So then we came back and we decided to be a group. Like, let's just do all electro, no slow beats, no hip hop. We can rap over it. We had kind of like our own little ingredients, like constraints of like, it's going to be up tempo, it's going to be electro, but we happen to be from the rap community, from like, because I used to do b-boy stuff with Dilated People, like underground hip hop artists, and so just brought that thing over to the electro, and that was how it started with LMFAO. Yeah, baby, come on in.
The LMFAO was just this vibe that you wanted to create?
Yeah, me and my nephew, we really were into The Secret, the law of attraction, manifestation stuff. And we would just imagine. And I kind of felt like we imagined that we were like European artists. like, and we started to change the way we dressed. We dressed like the way the music, we're making music, and we started changing the way we were dressing because it just didn't fit with hip hop, because we come from hip, so we're wearing baggy jeans, white t-shirts a lot, just like big oversized clothes. And we're seeing this whole electro stuff, and that's when skinny jeans on dudes was like just coming in. I mean, we were still apprehensive, like, yo, that's kind of
maybe a little tight.
a little tight, man. And then we experiment, and we had to buy. There's no men's clothes. There's no men's skinny jeans. So we went to Zara and bought size 13 women for women, and because I'm like 6'2", and they were tight, white. And I remember looking in the mirror, and I just started like, I'm gonna stand up for this. I was wearing it tight, and I just started like, ow! I just like kicking my leg up like Michael Jackson, and I was like, and I never did that with baggy hip hop jeans. I know it doesn't look good right now. I know because I'm wearing. I mean, I know my little stuff is.
Can you imagine that, Michaela?
No, but
very vividly. Yes,
but it looks weird now, and super obnoxious and dumb.
I could visualize.
But with a tight pants on, with like like a pleather jacket, like, and then we would like dress like Eddie Murphy, because he would wear all this like leather stuff. I think I was vegetarian there. I wasn't vegan, so I didn't know about PETA yet. About the leather and the stuff. But we liked that smooth look, and it was funny to us. Everything was like, it had to be a little funny, the LMFAO. It wasn't, we weren't trying to, because we're coming from hip hop where you got to be hard, you got to be cool.
Right.
Yo, what's up, my dog? And everything is, and we were like, no, we can do anything we want, in this electro. And we made serious music. It wasn't like we were a comedy. We weren't making fun of anything, but we just happened to be funny.
Well, you had Party Rock. I mean, Party Rock was...
Party Rock is dead. We were just, shuffling zombies.
Yeah.
And that was the second album. And that's when we brought in back an old school friend, Goon Rock, where I met since the 5th grade. And, we had to kind of like teach him the electro way, because he could make R&B, he could make hip hop. But this, like, so we were teaching people the Party Rock, like, here's all the sounds that we use, and
creating
and
a
then,
culture,
the lifestyle. And then he took it, Goon Rock, and then he co-produced, and what was the start of Party Rock Anthem. He came with a demo and said, check this out, and he had the melody and everything, and we changed a couple lyrics, and I worked on the beat a little bit, but that was Goon Rock's, and it was great because we're all friends. And my nephew, and everybody, we just started adding people to the team, make clothes, make all the websites, and I would do the web, and sell the merch. We just did everything. And it was so fun, but it was free.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what you guys are doing with this Intense. Like we're
starting from nothing. And we're just making it up as we go.
And there's too many restrictions in the traditional tennis.
Yeah, well, we're forming this based on what people want, and what is not currently working in the sport of tennis, and we're going to make it the way we want.
That's right,
and we're going to get feedback from everybody and adjust as we go.
But I think it's also we want to create this culture, this lifestyle, because just like we mentioned, right? Like we have, when you think about basketball players, they're this culture, right?
Yeah.
But when you think of a tennis player, it's like this tidy,
Wimbledon,
proper. It's like proper. So like, how do we want to popularize, right? Like a kid that like doesn't grow up in this lifestyle of tidy needles, like I don't belong there.
Right. Well, this is a prime example. When else would you have top ex-college player from Stanford sitting next to Redfoo in a podcast?
That's right.
I can't imagine any other format where that would happen.
Yeah.
So now to shift to Michaela, one of our first players that were signed under contract with Intense.
Yeah.
You have a high bar.
Excited.
That's right. Michaela Gordon. You have a high bar now. after what we just heard from Redfoo.
Very high.
So
I don't think I'll be able to top that.
You never know.
Jeans,
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I think skinny jeans you can top that. So you can.
So let's hear your backstory of tennis, Stanford, how your career went there, and how you got started.
Gosh, yeah. So going all the way back, I actually grew up in rural South Dakota. So not much tennis there. And I was playing a lot of winter sports. So I was doing skiing, ice skating, snowboarding. And for some reason, none of them really fit. I didn't pick them up super fast. And I didn't feel like I was super athletic, like growing up. And then one year in the summer, my dad just took me to a tennis court and started feeding me balls. And I found I could make contact like pretty well. And I was maybe 5 years old, 4 or 5.
Wow.
And,
that felt good.
And it felt great to be like succeeding at something and doing well. And I just loved being out there.
So you were snowboarding when you were like 3.
They put me on. Yeah, put me on.
What else is there to do in the Dakotas besides, skiing and snowboarding?
Yeah. And it was definitely one of those communities where everyone, they live in kind of close together, like close-knit neighborhoods. You all go to like the same tennis club. You go to the same like gyms and restaurants. And I loved growing up in that community. And I think tennis was also a way to meet people there too. And when I was 10 or 11, my family then moved to California. And I was introduced to a whole new like tennis environment. And I had been kind of like number 1 in South Dakota, which, is equivalent, I don't know, to maybe 100 in California.
In California.
Yeah.
But moved to California.
If you were in South Dakota,
South Dakota,
you
you could have been number 5 in the Dakotas.
That's like me being the best rapper in Sweden because I speak English.
But then he gave you the boost.
I gave you the confidence.
Right.
When did that change?
Exactly. I had a lot of confidence and I hadn't experienced like the next level yet. And then I went and played a tournament called Little Mo, which is
Texas.
Yeah, which is, I believe at that time I played the 10 and under tournament and just got absolutely crushed by one of the girls. Her name's Ryan Pace. She ended up actually playing at Brown and I lost 0-0.
Yeah. Wow.
I remember I made it to the quarterfinals, I think, but I was like, oh, this is a whole nother level. And I kind of started training in California, and it's one of those examples of, with Intense, you're part of a team. In California, I was surrounded by a bunch of players who then made me better. And I was able to really improve just by being surrounded by so much talent and people who were better than me. And I kind of fast forward, I ended up doing well in juniors. When I was 13, made the quarterfinals of Junior Wimbledon and started kind of doing really well at that like 12 to 14-year-old age. And
wait, let me back up for a minute. You were 13 years old and you made the quarterfinals of Junior Wimbledon?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And they're all 18-year-olds.
So you were in the 10s at Little Mo, got beat 0-0 in the quarterfinals, and then wound up 3 years later in Junior Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's 13, maybe 14. It was either 13 or 14. But
that is intense.
17, I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean...
I think at that point I was just playing so free. I was like,
impressive.
I'm just having fun. And I had done well kind of on the ITF circuit and ended up doing online school because of that. So I was in person for 7th and 8th grade. I remember my 8th grade year, that's when I started playing ITFs. You play like a full calendar schedule. I missed 90 days of school. And I talked to the principal. The principal's like, we support your dreams, but you can't be missing like that much of your education.
Right.
So ended up going the homeschooling route, which as we all know is really common for tennis, and kind of traveled the world playing. And when I was 17, I think I was ranked in the 400s in the WTA.
Wow.
And at that point, it's funny because I thought I was behind because I knew girls who were, 16, 17, kind of same age as me, who were playing the slams.
Right.
And I felt like I wasn't doing enough. And that was kind of a lesson I know we'll probably touch on, looking back, reflections kind of later. But at that point, I was like, I think college is going to be, the right path for me. I felt like tennis was so individual. I just wanted to be part of like a team environment.
Yeah.
And,
that's crazy. So you were 17, the 400 best player in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And you felt that you were...
I felt behind. Yeah.
Because also you couldn't make a living on that.
Yeah,
at that
exactly.
point, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you're not making any money. You're losing money every year when you're ranked in, the
And how did your parents say, no, you should try, or they said, no, go to college?
My parents, I think, always wanted me to play pro, but they were supportive of me, going to school. And when I got the call from Coach Lily Fruit at Stanford, obviously legendary coach, I don't know, anyone watching has seen Challengers. There's, a lot of history in Stanford's tennis program. And I just thought it was the best decision, academically and tennis wise. And I think, financially, that was another kind of factor, but also just feeling burnt out of the tour. Like, for some reason, I was, 17. At 17 years old. Yeah. I was playing in these big tournaments, playing girls who were, top 150 in the world, played a couple top 100 players. I remember, Yannick, we met at Stanford, the WTA event there, and I still was struggling mentally. So I decided kind of college was the best route, and ended up really enjoying my time at Stanford, and can talk more about that. But yeah, it was a crazy journey kind of from South Dakota to California and Stanford, and now Intense.
Yeah. Well, and I guess maybe touch a little bit of what happened, after your transition also at Stanford, and how did you do in post Stanford?
Yeah. So ended up doing my 4 years at Stanford. I was lucky to play one on the team. And during that time, we won 2 national championships as part of the team. And then junior year was COVID. So we ended up not competing, and played my senior year, won the first 2 years. And then we lost, I believe, in the second round my senior year. So we had a tough time kind of coming back from that gap. Yeah. And I think, obviously Stanford and California had kind of strict restrictions with COVID, and it was hard just to train and stay kind of fit during that time. And actually the sophomore year championship, that's the last championship Stanford's won. So fingers crossed for this year. We have an awesome team. But yeah, after that, I was kind of thinking about going pro. I had kind of this solid college career, but I never won NCAAs individually. And I think, again, I was feeling like, is this the time, to go pursue tennis, or do I want to go pursue other interests? And at Stanford, I had been exposed to this whole tech world of, investing, startups. And I just thought tech is so cool in the way that you can, ship software, and in one day, millions of people can have access to it. And I was just fascinated by that. And I thought, let me go into the tech world right after school, and ended up doing 2 years at a venture capital firm working on sustainability and clean tech investing, which was an awesome experience. And loved kind of being at the front of, all these developing technologies, and have a lot of kind of fun stories to share there too. But ultimately, I was sitting at a desk, and, you're working 10, 11 hours a day. And I just realized I can do this for the next 40 years of my life, and my day-to-day isn't going to change much. Or I can go kind of pursue that dream of playing tennis. At this point, I'm 24, having done 2 years working, and I can go pursue this dream and see where it goes. And then kind of led me to Intense.
And I called Michaela, right? Call her, and then she's breaking up on the phone. It's where are you? She's oh, I'm in Monastir, playing this 25Ks.
It was a complete 180 from being in, an air-conditioned office in Menlo Park, California, to Monastir. I think it got up to 115 degrees when I was there. God. And you're playing, just grinding through qualifying, because I didn't have a ranking at that point. So I was where should I go? And ultimately was let's just have an adventure, go to Tunisia. I've never been to Northern Africa before. So decided to kind of go play there. And pretty soon after that, I was reminded of all the challenges that you face as a pro tennis player. And I was just looking around, talking to other women who were trying to make it on kind of the lower levels of the ITF tour, and just realizing, not that many people are really happy playing this sport, at least not at this level. And people are barely getting by financially, and they're on the court, and you just feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders when you're playing, just, trying to make enough money one week to get to the next tournament. And I think going through that experience made me realize something here needs to change. There'd be so many potential solutions, whether it's having like local communities more engaged with these pro tournaments. So there's at least an audience to play in front of. A lot of times you're playing these high level matches, maybe 2 women who are like top 400 in the world, and there are 2 people watching, and it's both their coaches, and that's it. And, you know, the financial stability piece, just having more support at those levels and not having a community around you, like just so many things that I was reminded of that I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about this from when I was 16, 17, like playing these tournaments.
So you're a prime example of the type of player that Yannick and Intense are recruiting and talking to, because you are out there, you did it, you have talent to do it. But for whatever reason, financially, the way the current system is working didn't work out for you. So what was it like, your first conversation, or the first time you heard from Yannick about Intense and what we're trying to do? What was your first impression and your feelings when you hung up the phone of, oh, wow, could be interesting?
We can say this guy is nuts.
Possibly, you can say that. Yeah.
That's in a good way.
Yeah.
No, I think when we were talking, the first thing that stood out to me was, wow, this isn't like hating on tennis, like ragging on the sport, how it's played now, or trying to like change it inherently. This is such an incredible sport. It's dynamic, it's fast paced, it's fun to watch, but we want to improve on it and make things better. And I loved that it had like this kind of positive tone to it, and was really just trying to amplify the fun parts of the sport. And I think just so many of the challenges that I was seeing firsthand, like as you were talking to me on the phone, Yannick, I was like, wow, I'm seeing how Intense's plan is like addressing, you know, players needing financial stability, or addressing having community support and more fans or matches, or more active time, so more exciting fan experiences. Like, I think it just hit on every point that I was seeing, and it made me want to be part of it.
Like, you are wearing Stanford tennis, right? You've created this relationship with something bigger than yourself. You went to Florida State, I went to USF, and but I still have that inside of me that like, I'm going to support them for the rest of my life. It's not just financial, it's lonely, it's the travel, the hotels, the crappy food. Tennis, I play with junior. You know what I mean? This is in my heart. With these new rules and constraints, I love this format. Yeah. Because it's not pickleball. It's not, I want to change my equipment.